Hey
Hey
everybody.
everybody. Oh.
Hi.
Hey everybody, it's Lynn and that's Liam.
Hey guys.
And you are here for the ins and outs with Lynn and Liam. And I think we actually have really two solid articles this week because I feel pretty strongly about both of them. Although I also know what next week's article is, and I feel so strong about that one. So you all need to come back for that one too. But this week, my article, Liam, had you heard about this drama before I shared this article with you?
I did not.
Yeah, either did I until I heard from my sister-in-law who's in med school. And so my article this week is an article about med bikini, hashtag med bikini. And it's in the Boston Globe. And it's all about, so the Journal of Vascular Medicine, which is like a national journal, published this article about the prevalence of unprofessional social media content for med students who are becoming vascular surgeons. And it was 4 dudes. And what they did was, which I find most egregious, is that they created like fake Facebook profiles to follow med students. And then they judged them for being inappropriate. But like the categorizations for things that were inappropriate was like wearing a bathing suit or having a picture of you drinking or having a position about abortion. And so then they put out this report that said like 1/4 of med students are being inappropriate on the internet. And like the truth is that like I have pictures at my wedding, right? Like you're married, there must be a picture of you at your wedding holding a drink, right?
Actually, I have a really, like, I almost don't post any pictures of me holding drinks on the internet.
Well, whatever. I wouldn't call you inappropriate if you did. But there must be a picture of you drinking out there. Maybe not on social media, but like drinking is legal.
Yeah.
And so like the thought that like people go wine tasting, there's like a whole industry of like social drinking. There are studies that show that drinking might be healthy for you, you know? And so like the thought of like judging people, and it's all for men, and most of the behaviors are like slut shaming, right? So it's like sexy Halloween costumes was one. Like, come on, who cares if somebody on their personal profile page says like, hey, I'm a sexy nurse or a sexy bus driver or whatever. And so I found it like super egregious.
Definitely. I mean, when I read it, it felt like just like a bunch of like old fuddy-duddies were complaining about kids on the internet nowadays. Like,
But, you know, I read something because one of the people apologized. 2 people
yeah.
apologized, but one of them is young. He's like in med school.
Oh,
And I guess like there's this phenomenon where like higher ranking people in institutions decide they're going to research something, but then they assign it to younger people. And so then you're in like this predicament, like I've been assigned this task, but I really might think it's stupid. But if I don't say yes, am I going to get a good residency? Am I going to get, you know, so there's all this stress about like saying no. And so I secretly suspect that the younger people went along with it because they had to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like most master's programs, you have to do like work for your professors. I feel
Right.
like when you're like a doctor and stuff, and you like write papers with them.
I also thought it was funny that their suggestion was like, it's really a bad idea because patients might check your Facebook page. Like, I love my doctor. Do we go to the same doctor?
Yeah, we do. Julie.
Julie's the best, right? We
She
love
is.
her. She is fantastic. I have never even thought to look her up. And like, I have a strong feeling about, like, I really like her. And so I'm more likely to. But like, who the heck looks up the personal page of their doctor?
Yeah.
And especially like a vascular surgeon, it's like, oh no, I need surgery on my veins and my heart. I better like press pause and look them up before I let them. Nobody does that. It's just absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder, like, do they think, like, are these the same kind of, like, people who think, like, tattoos are unprofessional and, like, you're not going to hire someone with a tattoo? Or, like, you're not going to get vascular surgery from someone with a tattoo?
Or somebody who like drinks on the weekend.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a picture of them drinking while at work, Or in a bathing suit at work, that would be a different story.
Definitely. Yeah. Like,
But like the belief that like you have an opinion on abortion and that's inappropriate, like an abortion is a medical procedure.
so so I wanted to actually read this article because I had a lot of questions about like their methods and things like that. But one of my questions for this, to be like the devil's advocate, is what were the opinions on abortions and gun control that they were targeted? And if your doctor is anti-abortion, would you want to know that?
Well, I think that my perception is that it's mostly women, and my my perception is that it was people who were posting pro-choice stuff.
Yeah, so I mean that's how it kind of like came off. But if it was the opposite, would we then think that you shouldn't post that? Like if you were going to a doctor and you saw they were posting something about like anti-abortion, or they were posting even something like about anti-gay, right? Like, is that what we should be posting, or is that what like
Well, do we want our doctors to be against the medical procedure?
Exactly.
But that's I don't think what they were looking for.
No, and then that's the problem. It's like I couldn't read the whole thing, so I was like kind of like PO'd about that because I really wanted to like dig deep into like what exactly they were looking at.
Yeah, I wish that there was more data online. I couldn't find a lot of like, because you're right, I wanted to see like deep dives on like what the gender and the breakdown was, but I couldn't find a lot of that. But I just generally am sick of men telling people what to do and like deciding appropriateness. And so it's like, oh great, 4 dudes again telling people that wearing a bathing suit that shows off your tum is like inappropriate.
Yeah, but at the same time, I try to curate my Facebook in a specific way. Like I said, there are pictures of alcohol on my Facebook, but there's very few pictures, at least in the last like 5 to 10 years, of me actually consuming alcohol. Like even I remember I went to a wedding and we played beer pong, and there was this really awesome picture
At
of
a
me.
wedding?
Like, yeah, it was like the night before a wedding.
Oh.
It was like a vacation wedding kind of thingy. And so the night before, we were playing beer pong, and like my friend took a really awesome picture of me like throwing the beer pong ball. And like I thought it was a dope picture, so I put it as my Facebook like photo, and it was that for the longest time. And then somebody was like, Liam, like, should you really have a picture of you playing beer pong as your photo? And I was like, you're right, I don't know if I should. Like, how are people gonna look at that?
I just generally think that behaviors of people in their private lives doesn't really like, do I wear a bikini to the beach? Yes. Do I drink alcohol? Yes. Like, am I really good at my job? Yes. And so like, I refuse to ever like compromise that, but I do. The real moral of the story is you get to decide what your Facebook looks like. And there is no group of men out there who are going to be like, I don't know, I research sex educators, and because that's not how it works, right? You get to decide for yourself. And you should be cautious, right? Like, if you're looking for a new job, you should be cautious, but you shouldn't be shamed about it.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you shouldn't be shamed about like things you put on the internet. You should have the choice of what you want put on the internet, and you shouldn't like probably lose your job or like not get a job because of it. But again, at the same time, if someone puts something racist on the internet, we call for them to lose their job, right?
Yeah, I think that that's different.
Yeah.
Because this is a discrimination act against people, ladies, who are discriminated against, right? Like, it's different to call somebody out for being racist than to engage in sexist behavior.
Definitely. What if it's like, so the one of them was like gun control, right? What if it was pro guns?
Well, I don't care what my vascular surgeon cares about guns, personally.
Yeah, me neither, probably.
Right, like, I don't really care. And I wouldn't look. And if I did look, and so that's the real thing. Like, if for whatever reason I did look up our Dr. Julie, and it turns out that she had some opinion, I could choose on my own will to no longer see Julie, which I would never do, and I'm sure she's perfect on social media. But the idea that like we're putting ladies as a whole on blast is what really bothers me.
Yeah, and that was another thing. Like, they kept talking about how it was like misogynistic and stuff, and yeah, having men tell women not to wear bikinis, totally like misogynistic. But the article, like, again, I wanted to read the actual article because I was like, how, like, did they really focus that much on women? Because it said they focused on both, but it came off misogynistic. So, like, I don't know. I'm really curious to read the whole thing. I wish I even like used my school account to try and see if I could read it, and I couldn't find it.
I think that more, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I just think more ladies post bikini pics than men post bathing suit pics.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Girl, I mean, a lot of girls do that like photo in the mirror where they're sticking their butt out. I see that a lot. And
right,
would that
be inappropriate?
It's not inappropriate, but I did recently see it on someone who, like, I work with mildly, but not like super close, and I don't know all that well. And I did think like, ooh, like, should you really be sharing that on Instagram? But it wasn't like anything against. I think I would think that way if any of my friends posted that same picture. I'd be like, are you really gonna be like that girl?
Well, Jen, I post pictures. I run. Everybody knows I run. I run without a shirt on all summer because it is hot. And so if you were to see me outside, I am running in littlest shorts and a sports bra. And sometimes at races, people take pictures. Is that inappropriate?
For them to take pictures of you?
No, of me to post a picture of me with my medal for finishing a 13-mile race and I don't have a shirt on.
No.
Is that inappropriate?
No. And again, I'm not saying any of it's inappropriate. I'm just saying like the messaging behind a photo maybe affects how I personally see it, right? If I see you after a run with just like a sports bra and like running shorts on, it's not like overtly sexual to me, right? But if I see you posting a picture where you're like sticking your butt out and like taking a selfie in a mirror, then I'll be like, Lynn, what are you doing?
And I would be like, hey, I'm being sexy on the internet. Mind your own business.
I guess. I don't know. And there's nothing wrong with it. I would just look at you and think differently about you.
Okay, and the point is that you're allowed to judge people, but the idea that they're like institutionalizing the judgment of people, when really they should have been saying like, listen, your vascular surgeon's a human being and they like might drink wine and they might hang out with their pals and the beach is cool and they might go there.
Yeah, like maybe a better story would be like humanizing vascular surgeons instead of like shaming them.
Right, or like, the funniest thing is one of the criteria like for inappropriate behavior was violating HIPAA. Did you see that? And none of them violated HIPAA. So the only thing that I think is truly inappropriate turned out to not a single one of them posted privacy information about their patients. Thank goodness, because that is inappropriate, right?
Yeah.
And so like anything that would have been egregious, drinking at work or violating HIPAA did not happen, but like bikini pics and cocktails wasn't it just bothers me.
Yeah,
I also just think it's sorry.
I was just gonna say I don't think any of this like should be unprofessional, right? Like it's all fine.
Do you know what should be unprofessional? Whoever let this get printed, there's all sorts of bias. Like this passed like a dumb. I'm taking a statistics or a research class right now. To get published in a major journal, you have to like be reviewed by multiple people and go through all of these bias studies and stuff. And this somehow made it in like a national publication.
Yeah, and like from like Massachusetts or Boston, right? And that's like a big medical area.
Yeah. I will say I found out about this through my sister-in-law who is involved with a med school group called Doctors, but it's Docs, H-E-R-S. It's like an empowered group of lady doctors. And I'm like super proud of her for like being involved in this and being like a cool feminist doctor.
Nice. I do like feminist doctors too. I almost always only go to female doctors.
Well, I mean, I wish our doctor was accepting new patients because I would recommend her to everybody because she's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see. Did I have any other? Oh, the last thing I want to say is they issued an apology. 2 of them did, but they issued the exact same apology, word for word, and it was like super scripted. And it's like, come on, like, I don't think you're actually sorry if you both said the exact same thing. Like, at least have your PR people write separate apologies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, do you really mean it? Do you really know why it's wrong, or are you just saying it because you don't want to lose your job?
I think that some of the younger people might really have a hard time getting like placed in residencies because of it.
They might, yeah. Which, I mean, then again, though, I would feel bad about that too, right? Because, like, is writing this journal article something that should affect your job prosperities?
Well, maybe if they actually meant it.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for your article?
Um, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have anything else for yours. Yeah. So my article is all about kinks and fetishes because this past week I was asked 2 or 3 times in different classes where fetishes come from. So I was like, I'm gonna Google where fetishes come from, and it turns out fetishes are actually like a psychological disorder according to the DSM, the DSM, not the BDSM,
Not the BDS.
not the BDSM, but just the DSM.
They are?
Yeah, so they are a medical like condition according to it, but also being trans is and being gay was, and so like it's only a disorder if it negatively affects you. But they say that it negatively affects most people because what I also learned, which I didn't know before, is that there's a difference between kinks and fetishes. Kinks are just something that arouses you, while fetishes are usually considered something that you need to get turned on. So if you don't have this specific thing, you can't be aroused enough to have sex. And so the DSM considers that a disorder because it's negatively, I guess, affecting you because you need this extra stimuli versus just like normal stimuli, whatever that is.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. But then again, so I chose article. I found a bunch of articles. I was trying to figure out which one I liked the most, and the one I chose was from like Allure or something, and it was good, but it was a bit heteronormative, which I was kind of PO'd about. Because one of they go through like what fetishes is, what kinks are, and they kind of like go through different kinds of them. And one of them they talked about was like anal fetish, and it was like all about like dudes putting it in girls' butts. And I was like, A, girls put it in guys' butts all the time. B, guys put it in guys' butts, and girls put it in girls' butts.
Right. I thought it was odd that they even included anal sex as like a fetish because I feel like anal sex is just like a form of sex.
Yeah, it's like is oral sex a fetish or a kink?
Right. Yeah. Although they did make it more than just like penis and butt. They talked a lot about like inserting things.
Yeah, they talk about butt
But
plugs
yeah.
and toys and stuff.
I just don't understand why anal sex is considered a fetish.
Yeah, me neither. But then it got me thinking, that and while I was reading up about like fetishes and stuff, is sexuality a fetish? Like, is me being gay a fetish I have? Because I need that, to have sexual arousal.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Huh.
Wow, you really went down like a metaphorical, an existential rabbit hole there.
I know, man. It's hard. But so yeah, they talked about a bunch of different kind of fetishes. They talked about like BDSM, obviously like a major fetish, but they also broke BDSM down into like different subcategories because BDSM is just like a whole. There's no way just to say like, oh, I'm into BDSM because there's so many parts of that. So they talk about like impact play, where like you like to be spanked, either gently or more violently. Not maybe violent, but more roughly.
I liked that section because they offered like some real tips.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, avoid areas that have organs, which I was like, oh, that's like solid information. Like hit the fattier areas, but you want to avoid like damaging organs. And they also offered like a financial tip, which is test it out before you spend your money on it. So like use your hands before you invest like in a nice whip or something. And so I'm like, oh, that's like some good practical advice. I like it.
Use some like homemade things too. If like you want to start with spanking, like hand, move on to maybe like a wooden spoon, like get that whole like fetish of Because I mean, like, I feel like that's part of that fetish, right? Where like people used to be
Like a
spanked by,
spatula?
well, like I don't know, like so a lot of my friends they were like spanked with a wooden spoon when they were kids, and I feel like that maybe like continued on into like a kink or a fetish later on in life.
Yeah, it could mix in with like role playing, which is another
Also,
one. Yeah.
yes. Which with role playing, so one interesting thing to talk about with role playing is how role playing can kind of make illegal fantasies more of a reality, which I like. I didn't struggle with it, but I also like sometimes struggle with talking to people about like fetishes like that, right? So like they talked about like student teacher, doctor patient, and incest fantasies. There's also even like pedophilic sexual fantasies, right? And I always have a hard time like explaining that to people. Like how like, is it okay to engage in legal fantasies that are illegal, right?
Right. Is there a difference between like wanting to have sex with a younger child metaphorically, like phony, fakely, and wanting to do it in real life?
Yeah.
Right. But if you look at porn, like I hate to tell you, I don't even have to tell you this though. Most of the porn categories engage in some sort of like intergenerational, like stepdad, stepsister. So it's
Oh, yeah.
like we're basically living it through pornography anyway.
And it's not like that, that's definitely just not a straight porn thing. That's like gay porn too. Like there's tons and tons of videos that are like dads having sex with their sons.
Or I've never gone down the gay porn rabbit hole.
No, I have a couple times. Um, but yeah, so it's like with role playing especially, like it's one of those things that I think is totally fine and okay, but explaining it to people and explaining to people that like it's okay to have these sexual fantasies as long as you engage them in this like kind of safe, non-illegal way. Just like when they were talking, like she was talking about doctor patient, she was like, it would be wrong to go to a doctor's office and have sex with your doctor because that's unconsensual, it's rape, whatever. But you can participate in that fantasy like at home.
Yeah. Do you ever have any teenagers who have you ever experienced where teenagers will say things like, "Oh, he's daddy," or like, "I'm baby," and they like do this like I think that it's like crossover into pop culture where it's like, "Oh, he's like a sexy older man," and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's real daddy." And so it's very uncomfortable for me because they're like 11 or 12 and I have to be like, whoa, let's like pause on calling people daddy in a sexual way. And I don't even know how to handle it because like I'm trying to adapt with the times of like this is pop culture for 13-year-olds, but at the same time, like, yikes.
Well, so daddy has been a long time vernacular of like gay community.
Right.
So like when I was a kid, I never used daddy a lot or whatever, but I had a friend who would like use the word daddy in like replacement for please. So like if we would be at a bar, he'd be like, "Buy me a drink, daddy," instead of like "Buy me a drink, please." And I would joke, I would like, make fun of him about it all the time. I'd be like, "Yo, bro, you like replace please for daddy," and somehow it works.
Well, I'm fine with it. Like, I think it's okay. But like when a 12-year-old says it about a 30-year-old man, I just, and they mean it as like he's sexy or flirtatious. Like, I struggle with the response.
Yeah. Well, whenever I talk to kids, I always actually kind of make a really distinct, especially when I'm talking about consent and like statutory rape and stuff. I always talk about how it is totally fine for a teenager or a kid to find older people attractive. I'm like, you know, the shows you watch all have older people on them. Even the shows that like are supposed to be in high school, like Riverdale, all those people are in their late 20s, early 30s. And so like it's totally fine for you as a child to find older people attractive. What is wrong is when older people act on that and have sex with someone younger, because it's never the child's responsibility, right? It's the adult's responsibility. So I think
Yeah,
it's fine for kids to like have that kind of like sexual fantasy. I think it's the adults are the ones who have to make sure that we don't engage in it.
I think it's still a little odd. I just never know how to respond. Like, oh, he's so daddy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
probably
guess
wouldn't
I
like.
should ask them what that means to them. That's what I
what do
think.
you? Can you explain that to me? I probably wouldn't engage them. I'd be like, all right, moving on.
Yeah. Moving on. Let's continue on with this lesson.
Yeah. Let's talk more about consent. So, but speaking of consent, one of the things I mentioned in this article is how important consent is in kink relationships or in kink play. So like talking about it before you do it, making sure you guys understand each other's boundaries, especially with some of like the more physical ones, but even the mental ones, right? Like they talked about psychological play where like that kind of like dom sub thing where it's like, humiliation, right? We talked about it a couple weeks ago when we talked about like small penises and how that one guy like gets turned on from people making fun of his small penis, those kind of like psychological things. So we even need to create barriers for that because like if you go too far, like right, you can really psychologically hurt someone. Even like you're not gonna physically, but mentally, right? And mental pain is sometimes harder to like fix or even recognize than like physical pain is.
Right. Yeah, I think anytime you're going to engage in any sort of behavior like this, there has to be like a solid communication system already established. Because even if it is just emotional, like if my husband teases me and I don't mind teasing, but once in a while the teasing will be really hurtful and he doesn't mean it, but it's just like, it'll make me upset for days.
Oh yeah.
You know? I thought the lingerie fetish was really funny. Because, so Liam, I don't know if you're the right person to ask, but my experience is that so lingerie is everywhere, right? Like you can buy lingerie at Target, Walmart, everywhere. But I have almost never met a penis owner who actually like cares about sexy undergarments.
Yeah.
I think they just sell it to women because they market to women like this is what males like, but I don't think that that's actually true.
I think a lot of women maybe wear it because it makes them feel sexy.
Yeah, but but I personally feel attacked because I feel like I'm manipulated into thinking I need to buy this because penis people like it. But I don't think that's true. I think that they've just manipulated all people with vaginas.
I mean, I don't think penis owners dislike it. Like, I don't think they need it. I mean, some do, right? It's a fetish, so maybe some do need it. But I think the majority of people, like, they'll take it, they'll leave it. In the end, like, you're probably gonna be naked anyways. But it is like it's similar in the gay community. Like, and for me, like, not that I wear lingerie anymore, really. But like when I was younger, like I would buy like underpants that I found really sexy on myself because it made me feel sexy.
Yeah. No, and I'm with you on that. I don't know if you know this about me, Liam, but I only buy high quality, really beautiful undergarments.
Oh, really?
There's a nice store called Lace and Day on Franklin and Buffalo, and like I'm all in. But I only wear them for myself. But I do think like people are made to feel that they're supposed to wear it and that their partner wants it. And I have never been in a situation where anybody has like paid any attention to it. And I have some fire undergarment. Like I have beautiful bras and beautiful underpants and like nobody gives a heck about it. Because you're right, you're about to be naked and they just want to see what's under the undergarments.
But I bet with the lingerie play, it's more than like I bet you do more with it, right? If it's a kink of yours. So like if it's a kink, maybe your partner likes you to like walk around in it, or maybe they like the feel like of touching it, right? Or like taking off the straps. So it might be like some sort of like sexual like role play kind of thing almost.
Yeah, I guess my point was like it's super common, but I think it is way less common to actually find it. Lingerie is everywhere, but I think having the lingerie kink is like actually not very common.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I was like, is it even really a kink? Like back to anal sex? Like, is liking lingerie a kink?
Yeah, I don't know, but
Unless, I mean, maybe if like so some dudes right like to wear women's lingerie, and that's probably like a kink.
Yeah, or maybe certain types of lingerie, like maybe like thongs or crotchless underpants or whatever.
Yeah, or like in the
I
gay
did.
world, like
Oh
dudes
my
love
God.
jock straps.
Wait, what?
In the gay world, like jock straps are a big thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I
I
saw,
think
I
it
saw
goes
an
back to
ad
like,
on, oh,
oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm the worst today. No, go.
I think this goes back to like this kind of like masculine, like sportsy kind of thing for guys.
Hmm. I keep getting an ad on my Facebook page for like, it's a crotchless thong. So have you ever seen a crotchless? So there's like an opening so you can have sex
Yep.
while having it on. But in the middle is like a string of pearls. And so it must like stimulate your clitoris in some way. But I also just think it seems like if the string is not high quality, it could just like break. Cause like it seems like it's cheaply made and it's like a recipe for like you're having sex and like the string of pearls just like comes to the ground. I don't understand it. But it keeps showing up in my ads because I think the internet knows I like underpants.
Does it show up in your Wish ads? Because Wish always sends me like the weirdest underpants ads.
I have never been on Wish.
No, I don't go on Wish. I just get these ads from like Facebook, and it's like very similar things like crotchless underwear, like underwear that has like cock rings in it and stuff. And I'm like, I never have worn that.
There are underpants that have cock rings in them.
Yeah.
So you put your penis through the hole,
Well, you
and the hole
you
has.
yeah. Use it to your penis and your balls though.
Oh, I did once, but have you ever seen these underpants for men that are supposed to be really supportive of your balls?
I don't know. I've seen two different ones. There's one that like separates your balls from your penis and like to cool them off. And then there's another one that's like a bra for your balls and your penis that kind of like lift them and separate them and make them like really out there. So which one are you talking about?
I don't think mine are either of those. They're called Sacs, Saxx, Sacs, and they're supposed to be like really comforting for your testicles. But I don't think that my husband is interested in trying new things with his underpants. I think it's too adventurous for him.
Yeah, I mean nowadays I just wear it like I get packages off of Amazon that are like $15. So I like loose, comfy cotton underpants nowadays.
I like beautiful undergarments. Although with COVID, I don't think I've been wearing I haven't worn a real bra since March. Probably mid-March.
Yeah, I mean, I only put underpants on now when I go to teach.
Whoops. Too much information. I did find it interesting that they said the gangbang. I didn't know this. That there has been like some reclaiming of gangbang, and that it doesn't necessarily mean like a violent, non-consensual act.
Yeah. So I think it can be like that. Like, that can be part of the fantasy, right? Like having this like violent, non-consensual sex, which again, part of role play, which is fine if that's what you want. But you also can be empowering, right? Like having like multiple people like kind of like worshiping you and wanting to have sex with you, I think can be like kind of empowering. But again, another time where I was like, this is hella heteronormative because they're like a gangbang usually involves a woman having sex with multiple men, but sometimes it can involve a man being pegged by multiple women. And I was like, excuse me, like, you could have way more kinds of gangbangs than that. And like, what about gay folk? What about lesbians? Like,
yeah, no, this article, I mean, Allure is generally for ladies, but I think so. I don't know. But I agree. It was all just like non-inclusive.
yeah, I mean, I think you could have explained it without gender in general. It could have been like, it's where one person enjoys having sex with multiple people at a time.
Yeah. I also wish that they had talked about how to broach fetishes with your partner.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people suffer in silence. I mean, suffer, I guess that might not be the right word. But like, I think so many people have like a sexual interest and they're afraid to tell their partner.
Definitely. And I think, yeah, like if it's a fetish where like you need it to get off, maybe you're more likely to tell your partner, or like it might be harder to find a partner because it's hard to talk to people about that. I think kinks especially are really hard to talk to your partner about because it's like, I don't know if I like this, right?
Yeah.
Like, can we try it? But like, then you don't want your partner to be like wanting to do it all the time, and you don't want to do it all the time now.
Right. Or you don't want to be judged. Like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, Liam, I really like X. And you're like, holy cow, this girl is weird. Which might happen. You don't know. Like, if you don't, there's fear of judgment.
Definitely. And like,
I always recommend, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, some can be hard, like with like voyeurism, right? Like telling your partner you want to watch them have sex with someone else. That can be a weird conversation to have.
Yeah. I always suggest to people that they broach the conversation by watching porn with their partner, and like they happen to pick the porn that has the kink that they're interested in, and then you could be like, oh, hey, would you ever want to try this?
Yeah.
Although a lot of times people are like, you think I should watch porn with my partner? And then that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, and that can be another like hard thing too, right? Like porn can be like a really personal time for a lot of people, that they might not want to like not have to like now always watch porn with their partner.
Yeah. Plus then you'd have to deal with like the emotional, like, how am I going to say this? My experience is that if you communicate with people, sometimes they take it personally, and it's like, oh, is what I do not adequate enough for you? And then you have to like, not only are you feeling sexually unfulfilled, you also have to like tend to their emotions, and it's just like a little exhausting.
Yeah, definitely. I that's one thing about, like, for me especially, like, I don't like working hard at a lot of things, and so like, especially like, I don't know about you, but like people always think like because I'm a sex educator, like I must have like all these like crazy kinks and have like wild sex and stuff like that. And then most of the part, I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. That's like all far too much effort. Like it's a lot of work. I just don't want to put in that kind of man power.
Yeah, I think when you spend as much time talking about sex as we do, it's like, it's not as like thrilling. It's like, yes, some people do X, Y, or Z. It's not like intriguing. It's just like, yeah, you're right. And I'm also just a lazy potato.
Yeah, like just too much.
Yeah. I also find that sex educators, my secret suspicion is that we have less sex than most people do, because it's our life so much. You know what I mean? It's like how chefs don't like to cook when they get home. I suspect that there might be a whole lot of less sex among sex educators.
Maybe. I don't know exactly about that. I do definitely think that like people put too much on sex educators and think like we're either all slutty or all like crazy sex addicts. We're definitely not that. But I know like I've only ever had like one job that really like put me out of the mood for sex, and that was when I worked for a group home agency, because I'd like spend all day like, you know, cleaning people and like dealing with people, like especially giving them baths and stuff like that, and dealing with them in like naked situations, wiping their butt after they go to the bathroom and stuff. And I really enjoyed my job, but it definitely wasn't like I wouldn't get home and be like, you know what, I'm like crazy horny right now, right?
Yeah.
Because like I just dealt with naked people all day, and now and like not in like a sexual way, right? I dealt with them in this like really like human way, and now I'm just like, I don't want to like see naked people. I just want to like go to sleep.
Yeah, that it does seem exhausting. I did find that when I used to teach adults, because I don't teach adults anymore, there would be like a significant amount of like people hitting on me,
Mm-hmm.
because, well, I'm cute, but also they think that I'm like a sexy human being because I'm like talking about clitorises and shit. Oh, and stuff. I can't remember if we're allowed to swear or not.
I don't know. You two have some funny rules. I try not
Well,
to.
I can't remember. I once swore on our Instagram page, and I think I got not in trouble, but I was told like, hey, maybe don't do that, which is solid advice. Anyway,
Yeah.
but so that people would be like, give me their number, and they would be telling me how big their penis was and all this stuff. And I was just like, I just want to go home to my husband and like watch Seinfeld or do whatever. And so like, I don't wear a wedding ring generally, but I started just always wearing a wedding ring because it was like, please just stop asking me to have sex with you. And it was happening all the time, but it was happening like multiple times a month, and it was just exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I know several of like our coworkers, they don't really enjoy going to like male only like rehab centers, especially because those guys can be really, really sexually explicit. And it can be really, not, they're not like worried about it or nothing, but it can just be annoying, right?
It's just exhausting. It's like, yeah, I get it. You got a penis. You think I'm cute.
Yeah, like just keep it like, you don't have to do this every time I come here, guys.
I'll just never forget the time once somebody told me, like, he pointed out to where in his leg his penis goes to as like a way of like trying to hit on me. And I'm like it was actually scary. Like, not physically scary, but I'm like, that doesn't sound pleasurable. Like, it was, this is not sexy to me, please.
Did you bust out your anatomy slides and be like, so the vagina is actually only about?
I was like, well, the vagina actually doesn't expand that far. And he just didn't really, he wasn't interested in the conversation anymore.
No, they usually don't care about the education.
Well, this was fun.
Definitely. I was gonna ask you, is there any kinks on here, or that weren't on here, that you think should have been on here?
Oh, that's a really good question. What about you? Let me think about it. Do you have any?
Nothing like, I think some of these categories are so broad that they could encompass so many different kinks, right? So like, I thought about like maybe food and things, but that can either go to like sensation play, right? Like if you like, I don't know why people might want to put food on them, but like honey, maybe like that goes towards sensations, like the feel of honey on your skin.
Yeah, I made that face because the thought of honey near a vagina, or just like the cleaning process.
Yeah.
Maybe like voyeurism, sex in public places, right?
Yeah,
There's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But they didn't describe voyeurism as sex in public places. They didn't describe voyeurism as you watching people have sex. So I think that's two very different things, right?
Yeah. Or like the risk of being seen, though, would be voyeurism.
Yeah, or like maybe that's probably exhibitionism.
Yeah, I think that's a common one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely exhibition is a common one, having sex in public and things like that.
Yeah. I guess more like, I guess they did do like impact play, but just more like painful, like beyond spanking. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that kind of maybe like you could consider under sensation.
Yeah, that's true.
And like some of them like mix together, right? They talked about how like domination can mix with bondage, can mix with foot fetishes.
We didn't talk about foot fetishes.
We didn't talk about foot fetishes. I feel like foot fetishes like talk about so much, so.
I have okay feet, but the thought of touching, I just think feet are gross. Like, they get sweaty, people don't take care of their toenails. I personally just cannot imagine ever seeing a foot and feeling sexual.
Definitely.
And I'm not like yucking somebody's yum. I just personally, like, I don't even want feet near me.
Yeah. I think that like feet are like fine. My feet in particular, people have told me many a times my toes look like baby fingers, so I feel like nobody really wants my feet to be near their faces. But like kind of like with foot but lingerie too, like some people are really into like socks, right? Like in the gay world, like there's a big thing about like guys wearing soccer socks, and that's like really sexy to some people. So it's like a mix between like foot and
like
lingerie.
The cute socks that you pull up.
Yeah, like soccer socks that are like knee high.
Yeah, that is cute. I mean, I don't know if I find it sexual, but I think it's a cute look.
Yeah.
Or maybe, yeah, who knows?
Maybe you do find it sexual and you just don't realize it.
Maybe this is like a real exploration of a potential fetish.
Well, and so that's another thing is like, I think, so I was actually trying to think, like, do I fit into like any of these kinks or anything? I certainly, unless being gay is a fetish, I don't think I have any like fetishes that like I need. But even like kinks, I was like, you know, like maybe I like this, maybe I like that. It's like nothing I like need, but it's not like bad. And then they also mentioned like how some people's vanilla, because I always say like, oh, I usually have just like plain vanilla sex. And I know you hate that term, but then they said like some people's vanilla is other people's like raunchy. So I'm like, maybe like, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I am definitely not in any fetishes to the point like, because what is a fetish? You need it.
Yeah.
But I think like sometimes you do things and sometimes you don't do things. Sometimes you have regular sex and sometimes you have more interesting sex, and like sometimes you have no sex at all.
Definitely. I agree.
And that's life.
And that's life.
Okay, I'll see you next week, Liam, where we will be talking about something so cute and so interesting. And it might involve a YouTube video of a furry animal. Oh, that actually makes it sound way better than it is.
Maybe we can find, maybe I'll find another article too.
Yeah, no, that's your article. So now I have to find a very good one.
Yes, one that matches with it. Maybe one that has to do with furry animals on YouTube.
Yeah, maybe that could be the theme. It could just be like furry week at the ins and outs.
Furry week and the ins and outs.
Okay, bye, Liam.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.